The subject of remote and hybrid working has been high on many companies' agendas for the last several years. In the last quarter of 2022, the Office of Tax Simplification conducted a consultation on remote and distance working, and Blick Rothenberg was one of the companies that provided a response to that consultation. With me today is Robert Salter, who wrote our response to that consultation, and I'm going to be discussing with him the issues that he brought out from his discussions with clients and how far that has gone with the OTS. Robert, welcome.
Thank you.
Robert, you've spoken a lot to clients about these issues over the last few years. What were the key things that you felt were important to bring to the notification, to the notice of the OTS?
Well, the OTS and clients generally have found 3 or 4 kind of big challenges when dealing with hybrid working, both from a UK perspective and also when you're looking at it internationally, where you've got multi-state workers, people working across or living across borders. So one is the PAYE and withholding tax issues. 2, it's things like social security and where should social security be due, and the admin associated with getting the social security correct and things like that. Another big area is expenses. What expense policy should be following, what pensions should be applied, for example, and things like that, because people may be working in 2 states. One state may not recognise a UK pension or vice versa. And then the other big one is a corporate tax issue, where you could potentially be creating corporate tax liabilities for the company by having somebody working internationally and, you know, being, for example, 3 days at home, 2 days in the UK.
Of those, income tax and social security will affect absolutely everybody.
Yep.
So what's the key things that you drew to their attention that obviously other people would have done as well, but where you felt you're seeing the most problems in your clients?
Certainly on social security at the moment, one of it is an admin issue in terms of, for example, trying to get the A1 certificate if somebody's an EU, UK cross-border worker. I've got cases which are lasting 18 months or 2 years to actually get the A1 issued because of delays from an HMRC perspective. So we need to improve, or the revenue needs to improve their systems massively from an admin perspective to give these certificates more quickly.
Because if the individual doesn't have that, they're going to have to potentially pay in both countries.
I've literally got cases at the moment where the overseas authorities are saying, if you do not have X certificate by 8 weeks' time, 10 weeks' time, we are putting you in their system and liable to that system. And yes, eventually you may be able to get the money back, etc., but you've got cash flow wise, you've got 2 liabilities for potentially 6 months, 12 months, however long it takes to get that sorted out.
From the income tax side, you talked about withholding, and PAYE is a 4-letter word for many people. What are the particular issues that come up with remote and hybrid working when it's cross-border?
So if you've got a cross-border worker, for example, you then need to understand, where that individual's working. Companies won't always know exactly where they're working, and if you don't know if they're working internationally or you don't know what the pattern is, in the first instance, HMRC would expect you to operate PAYE on 100% of their income, and then it's the individual's obligation to then say do a tax return or whatever and try and say they should be taxed on some alternative basis. But obviously, if the overseas location at the same time is saying, well, hang on, Joe Bloggs is living here, we think he's resident in Ireland or whatever, we want tax at the same time, you could genuinely have 2 lots of tax being demanded at the same time, which obviously creates cash flow issues. And whilst there is, from an HMRC perspective, worker loans that companies can use, they are relatively confusing and complex, and again there's this timing issue in terms of trying to get those systems in place.
So obviously we could talk about this all day, and I'm sure the people watching this could enjoy listening to that too. But when you look at from the perspective of the OTS consultation, we filed our submission by the end of October. They reported back on, I think, it was the 20th of December.
Yep.
Were the things that you drew to their attention consistent with what they were seeing from elsewhere?
Very much so. So we highlighted, for example, that getting the PAYE simplifications in place and the delays which were occurring there, and we were saying, for example, companies should be allowed to actually just automatically claim these reliefs and make a return to the revenue to say we've claimed something called a Section 690 relief, which means we're only operating PAYE on X percentage of somebody's salary, or we're getting tax relief within the payroll automatically and we're claiming it under this basis. And certainly, yes, let HMRC know that they're doing this, but make it much more under the control of the company so they can proactively contact HMRC to say this is what we're doing, and it's then HMRC's job to say no, we don't believe it's applying. At the moment, the companies cannot do these schemes until they get the formal sign-off of HMRC, which could be 6 or 12 months, which is just nonsense.
And that formal sign-off, you tell me, comes most of the time anyway. So
overwhelmingly, in 99% of the times, HMRC will agree to something and agree that it's appropriate, but it's just this delay. So your companies could literally be in a limbo, or the individual employees could be in limbo for 6 or 12 months, which is not it certainly doesn't make HMR, the UK, look like an attractive place to do business. It creates additional costs for companies at a time when, let's be honest, most companies are struggling with the cost of living and staffing issues and things like that. So, if we want to make Brexit, this kind of post-Brexit Britain effective, we need to kind of have an effective, easy, controllable system of admin for taxes.
Now, talking about the admin of taxes, of course, this was the OTS's last hurrah before being abolished.
Which is a sad thing.
What is your view, the likelihood of these recommendations that you've made and the OTS has also made based on representations like yours? What's your view of the likelihood of these being adopted?
Obviously there's there's two ways to look at this. One, I can be kind of an accountant and half kind of glass half empty sort of thing. But I think the other thing is there's plenty of noise, not just from ourselves, but from a lot of companies out there who do find this a real issue. And so hopefully, that noise will grow over time. So I don't necessarily think, say, in the next budget, they will change X, Y, and Z. But do I think that over 1, 2, 3 years, there's a real opportunity there for the UK to simplify the system, make it more effective, more efficient, to help both taxpayers, but also the revenue in terms of reducing their needless admin, and to actually make the British tax system fit for purpose? Yes, I think over time there is that opportunity.
Okay, well that's good. As I say, by preparing a response to that consultation, at least we've tried to play our part to bring our clients' concerns to the attention, and hopefully something can get done about that.
And absolutely, and the politicians cannot say they're not aware of it. They may choose to sometimes be deaf. We've all seen politicians who can choose to be deaf on certain issues, but it is there, it's publicly available, and if we and companies, etc., continue to push, like I say, there's a chance it will get done, or at least some of these things will get done. Whether the whole package will get changed, but some bits are still better than nothing.
Okay, well, I saw how hard you worked on that consultation, so thank you very much for all your efforts there, and I hope that was useful for people. Thank you very much.